Long ago, when the world was bright and full of stories, an evil wizard gained the power to touch the face of God. Narrativa, goddess of stories and weaver of our world, banished him to the void, but not before he stole a piece of her divine essence. With this newfound power, the wizard lay a dread curse upon all the world, the Glyph Purge, which struck from the minds of all mortals the knowledge of how to read and write. Now, all that stand between the Isle of Meosha and an age of endless ignorance are the bards, who tell stories of distant lands, exotic creatures, and brave heroes. This is one such tale.
Hello and welcome to Challenge Rating Zero, the latest and greatest Dungeons & Dragons podcast to hit the internet airwaves. I am Sam, your Dungeon Master, and I am joined as always by my longtime friends and adventuring companions.
Hello, I'm Brian, and I play Hektor the Gatekeeper.
Hi, I'm Beth, and I play Rilla Longshadow.
Hey there, I'm Alex, and I play Ruger Firehide.
And last but not least, we have the man who calls himself Michael, but who we call Parker. Michael Parker playing the druid Zurabak. Say hi, Parker.
Hi, Parker.
Fantastic. We are joined once again for a tale of epic fantasy. When last we left our heroes, Hektor, Rilla, Zurabak, and the lawman Ruger Firehide were in the city of Everspring recuperating after their deadly adventure in the Springvale Forest. Having returned Rilla to the land of the living, our heroes went forth into the city to pursue some personal projects. Ruger Firehide went to visit Captain Kurz, a scrivener of the Order of the Quill, to gain some insight into his paladin training, and fulfilled a ritual to summon forth with the mystical power of the god Protos his once lost steed Cole, who is now imbued with incredible powers, not only from Ruger's ranger abilities, but also his paladin abilities as well. Rilla Longshadow came back to the land of the living after dying. We went over the adventure she had on the other side of death's door, and when she returned, she had some deeper insight into the nature of shapeshifting, and she established a touching and fitting memorial for all the elven lives lost in the Springvale Forest to the mad machinations of the elders there. Zurabak took himself a trip to Bramble, all the way down in the Briar Marsh at the very southern tip of this great Isle of Meosha, and used some of their signature bone white wood to craft himself some armor with the new druid magic he had acquired. And lastly but not leastly, Hektor the Gatekeeper busied himself inviting all the important players in the city of Everspring to the raging party that took place.
I just want to be very clear. Hektor didn't just invite the important players. Hektor invited every single person who he has met personally. Anyone whose first name he knows. Or a name to call them, I guess, in the case of someone like the Diviner, who was invited. Ruger's ex-wife was invited. The blacksmith that made my hammer was invited.
The old dwarf
everyone
we saved. Remember that guy?
And again, personally invited.
Right.
Charissa Lamstrand was personally invited by Hektor.
Hektor busied himself personally inviting every named NPC in the city of Everspring to the Rager that took place after the memorial ceremony. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, we have spent a little bit of time in the city, couple days, enough time to get this memorial service going and, see to our personal projects. Hektor was the last to go last time, so we're going to start back up with him. You are in the sprawling city of Everspring, the city of 1,000 colors, the singing city, where the Bard's College is located, the last bastion of civilization in all the Isle of Meosha. Hektor, you've got some time before the next mission. Rilla still has to recover from her, scrape with death, and you've got some time on your hands. I wonder, what would you like to do?
Some of it is going to be just your basic stuff. Making sure to hang out with Book, my dog, plenty while I'm actually in town. We haven't directly established it, but I just want it to. There is no like given person that like Hektor, like, hey, Moonbeam, watch book while I'm gone. He just lets the dog roam around the college. Books resourceful. He'll find food.
Understood. Well, that being said, as soon as you get back to town, Book comes barking and yipping to stand at your heel from the moment you get back into the college. And yeah, he spends his time when you are away just sort of wandering around the college proper, receiving pets and treats from the students, from some professors. Moonbeam has taken a particular interest in him, Moonbeam being your teacher and the curator at the Hall of Whispers. She has a particular interest in his well-being. But yeah, you spent some quality time with Book, who is more than happy to see you return from your adventures.
I think he's been auditing a few classes. So, he's doing well for himself.
He's learned how to play an instrument, but that instrument is barking. So you're not really seeing like too much, but he does have +2 in perform bark. So
that'll be handy later. Other than that, certainly connect with Moonbeam and sort of continue some of our bardic lessons. And just generally debrief Moonbeam. Always take the chance to tell stories.
Sure, well, let's play that out. You enter the Hall of Whispers, buried deep within the College of Everspring, an expansive museum packed to the gills with statues, paintings, tapestries, arms and armor and equipment, all of which have been bespelled with the magic mouth enchantment, which allows them to tell a story programmed by Moonbeam herself. Each one of these items, as you walk past, growing a mouth and regaling the passers-by with the tale of their significance and their role in history. Moonbeam is delighted to see you, as always. Oh, Hektor, it's so good to see you back and safe and healthy. Book's been missing you dreadfully. Book runs around, runs over to you and rolls over on his back.
I toss just a piece of food out of my ration pack.
He gobbles it up greedily and licks your face.
It's good to be back. This one, they're all rough ones anymore. The adventures, but I thought I lost a friend on this one, so that one pretty bad. Pretty terrible.
I did hear along the grapevine that we lost Rilla for a while. That is terrible, but I am so glad to hear that she is back amongst the living. I can't imagine how terrifying that must have been for you.
Yeah, almost as terrifying as when she turned into a hydra and fought a tree.
Oh my word. Was it she lightly touches the like circlet of woven branches that is constantly sitting on her head. It was an evil tree, right? Like a bad tree?
Hektor casts minor image to just kind of create from memory just a small like model version of the tree and the hydra form.
You weave your newly gathered bardic magics to make this beautiful recreation, pulling bits of shadow to weave this beautiful illusion. And Moonbeam says, "Oh my, that is horrifying. Well, it's good that tree's been taken care of. I'm also delighted to see that your powers are growing. You're certainly becoming more of a bard every day. Which reminds me, I meant to ask, you have been helping me here in the Hall of Whispers as you've been able between your adventures, but I'm curious, have you found any interesting artifacts out there in the field while you've been away? Any new addition to the college, to the Hall of Whispers, is a chance to reclaim and restore our knowledge of ancient history. Have you found any interesting artifacts out there?
I can't say that I brought anything back from Greenleaf,
Well,
but I suppose that story is somewhat told in the memorial that we helped make.
oh, of course, yes. I remember the terrible tale told. It was harrowing. But I suppose I should say, Hector the Gatekeeper, Keeper of the Gates, due to all your excellent efforts and your strengthening bardic abilities, I, Moonbeam, hereby name you Assistant Curator of the Hall of Whispers, contingent on you bringing back a tasty artifact the next time you're in the field. Anything at all that can help us restore some lost knowledge.
I humbly accept your offer and your challenge.
Well, you go far afield into places that I wouldn't dream of traveling, so anything you bring back, I'm sure, will be fascinating. But just keep an eye out.
Yes, I'm not sure where things are going to take us next, but I may have some ideas.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Well, while you're thinking, I just got a new bottle of that delicious elven wine. And what do you say we crack this and just chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the one bottle?
Well, you can have this one, and I'll get the other one that I got.
I'll bring you some drink at another time, you know.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, she busts out some glasses. Y'all have a drink, and yeah, chill.
Hector politely sets the glass to the side and just puts the bottle in front of him.
Absolutely. All right, we will check back in with Hector in just a minute. Zurabak, King of the Shocker Lizards, Champion of the Goats.
Yep.
Emperor of the Rats, Duke of the Isle of Neho, Zurabak the Unburned. You are in Bramble, the human settlement down in the depths of the bramble-choked Briar Marsh. You've just turned some of the bone-white wood that the city is built on and built of into a beautiful breastplate with your wood-shaped spell. You have scared off some of the locals who ran away from the bit of wall that you just transformed into some armor. The whole of the Briar Marsh is at your disposal, and you have some new teleportation magic, I believe, that allows you to be very mobile. What are you doing next?
Well, now I need a shield.
Great.
So I take another chunk of the wall.
Another bit of the wall surrounding this ramshackle town of trappers and hunters falls to your fell magics and shrinks and warps and shapes itself into a lovely and tactically sound wooden shield.
With spikes.
With spikes, sure, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be Bramble if it didn't have spikes. There's like a guy leaning against the wall, and as you turn it into a shield, he like stumbles backwards into the swamp. He's like, whoa!
I just look at him menacingly.
Hey, Zurabak, no problem, bud. No problem. Good to see you.
About how big is Bramble all around?
Oh, that's a interesting question. It's not like a mile across. It's a pretty small town. It used to be bigger. It's built on these like tall wooden pylons stuck down into the swamp, so it stands, a good 4 or 5 feet above the water line. But more than half of it's collapsed in the ages since it was built. So there's like a mile. It's like a mile across. Some white wood buildings, a couple warehouses, open air tavern in the center of town. It's not very big at all.
And most of the walls like in mud.
Yeah, the walls are actually like ramshackle. It seems like they've cannibalized bits of the collapsed pylons that make the town up and sort of stuck them into the mud.
Zurabak's gonna build them a new wall.
You're gonna what now?
Build them a new wall.
Okay.
First, we're going to go around and transmute mud to rock for the outline thing, and then we're gonna do a wall of stone around.
Fascinating. Okay. Wow. Neat. Yeah. You start weaving your druidic magics, pulling on the power of the wilds to shape the very loam beneath your feet, turning this churning wet mud into solid stone, and then commanded by the strength of your will, it starts to rise up and form a thick, solid, smooth wall all around this town. As you're doing this, the mayor of Bramble approaches
Probably
you.
can't get the whole wall. It's 5 feet square per level.
Gotcha.
Gets a solid chunk.
Okay. Oh, you rebuild the part of the wall that you took?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
because I can't get it all because
For
then
sure.
I'm out of wall of stone spells
Right, yeah.
for the day.
You absolutely shore this up. And the mayor of Bramble approaches you as you're undergoing this construction, Mayor Pike. He says, Zurabak, I guess I'm glad to see you're back in town. Are you in construction now? I thought you were an adventurer or something.
Yep, took part of your wall, put in a new one.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. He takes a gnarled arm and, scratches the side of his graying head and says, that's good. I appreciate you. I thought your buddy, the gatekeeper, was like more down with like defenses and stuff, but I guess if you're
Yeah, he did say your wall was garbage.
He did, and I think about that every night before I go to sleep. So I'm glad someone's doing something about it. Why are you here?
Because I like the color of the wood.
It's great. Yeah, it is good.
Also, everywhere else is awful.
Well, I've never been anywhere else, so I can't really speak to that. But if you say so, I guess I'll just be content with my lot here.
Though I did meet a fire mountain. That was fun.
Fire mountains. That sounds like, well, that does sound worse. So I guess you're right there. Were you gonna need anything else from like us or me? Or are you good?
After Zurabak finishes, I'll be back. And he just sort of walks into a tree using tree stride.
Yeah, you leave Mayor Pike scratching the scraggly white hairs on his head as you just walk into a tree. The bark ripples. You walk into it as if it was a sheet of water. And where are you tree striding to?
Let's see. What type of trees are in the area?
Mostly mangrove trees. It's a swamp.
Would you qualify that as deciduous or coniferous?
Oh, Parker, deciduous, I think. It's a swamp. I don't think you get many conifers in a swamp. If people know better than me, it's a fantasy world, and it's whatever I say it is.
I've got no idea.
So they're deciduous.
Yeah, so that's about 1,500 feet per tree?
Sweet. So you're jumping 1,000 feet every time you step out of a tree, and then you just step into another one and jump again?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, you cover ground
checking
quickly.
on the druids next.
Wow. Okay, you're going to the Circle of the Serpent?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, you stride across the swamp faster than you ever have before, utilizing powerful druidic magics that you've, only fairly recently gotten access to. And you blink across this forest, walking into one tree and walking out of another one. And a trip that the last time you made the trip between Bramble and the Circle of the Serpent, it took you like 2 or 3 days. You make this trip in 30 minutes. You dart across the swamps of the Briar Marsh like nothing. And very soon you walk out of a tree, and the home of the Circle of the Serpent is before you. This enormous, ancient skeleton submerged halfway into the swamp. Its huge maw opening as a cave mouth leading to the vine-choked depths within. Luminescent mushrooms spilling spores from its empty eye sockets, and all around are animals and humans dressed in furs and scraps of leather, a lot of whom don't even register your approach, but a familiar form does accost you almost as soon as you walk out of a tree. You see a heron, a beautiful, graceful white heron, alight upon a log next to you as you start walking towards the enormous skeletal cave complex that your druid circle calls home. And the heron speaks and says, Zurabak, I haven't seen you in forever. Not since I visited you back up at that fancy college. What the fuck are you doing back here?
Stealing walls. Checking in.
Okay, I'm not even going to ask about that first one. The heron steps off the tree stump and turns into a human woman with long dark hair who is dressed in leathers with feathers and bird talons and beaks and necklaces and woven through her hair on bracelets. Talon, the head of security for the Circle of the Serpent, stands before you, and she says, "Okay, Zurabak, it's good to see you. Here's where everything, we're all here. Did you want to see Trapjaw?" Yeah, I figured you'd want to see Trapjaw. Little Zurabak checking in with the boss man. You're so cute. She reaches out to pinch your cheek.
I bite it.
She bites you back on your shoulder. And after the traditional Circle of the Serpent greetings are commenced with, she giggles and turns and leads you into the cave. It's actually pretty good timing you coming back here, Zurabak. We got some moves planned. Not sure how you're gonna feel about this, but given the reports you've given me, I mean, shit's pretty bad out there. And Talon starts walking you through you pass through the giant skeletal maw of this ancient beast submerged in the swamp and go into its vine-choked innards, the inner skeletal structure lined with enormous vines and roots, various plants hanging down from the ceiling and making these natural caves, which branch off into different smaller alcoves for living quarters, for small workshops, things of that nature. And eventually you get into the belly of the beast, a large chamber with a huge skeletal hand poised in the center, palm upturned, and within that hand is an enormous monitor lizard. Venomous saliva pouring from the corners of its mouth and its tail slowly swishing back and forth between two of the fingers of this giant skeletal hand. And Trapjaw, the leader of your druid circle, lies on his lizard belly in the middle of this hand. Talon says, "Hey boss, Zurabak's here." And this monitor lizard slowly turns its head to gaze at you with one eye and says, "Zurabak, it is good to see you again. What brings you back home?"
Stealing some walls. Checking in.
From what Talon told us of your last debriefing, it seems that things in the outside world are incredibly perilous.
Yeah, it got worse.
Tell me everything.
You give a lowdown on everything you've experienced?
Yeah.
Fantastic. You tell your boss everything that has been going on since the last time you spoke to Talon. A couple of adventures ago, your new titles, your adventures, the sick plots of the Cult of the Stricken. And Trapjaw says,
This is all worse than I had even imagined.
Yeah, I didn't expect the forest to eat the elves either.
Truly a tragedy to lose so much of the ancient wilds. It would seem that my plans will have to move ahead of my original schedule. I'll need your help, Zurabak. It is time that the Circle of the Serpent rejoin the world once more. We're moving, and I need you to help get this beast up.
But I got things to do.
All right, and with that, we're going to switch up. Ruger Firehide.
Sir?
Ruger, you have recently gotten a promotion. You went to talk to Kurz and the Hierophant, servants of Protos, and while trying to get back your lost protagonist badge that you gave to Dara, Rilla's younger sister, you received the rank of Scrivener in the Order of the Quill, the knightly order operating out of Everspring, whose job is the collection and protection of all written works. You gained power as a paladin and were able to retrieve from the ether your powerful noble steed Cole, which you summoned behind the temple. The city is yours, sir. What would you like to do?
Well, I have a few things. So since I was recently knighted, I would certainly like to spend some time at the Order Hall or whatever, getting acclimated with some of the duties of being a Scrivener. I also wouldn't mind trying to spend a little time just with Kurz, where time allows, grab a drink with him at the Crooked Stool, and, just kind of bond with one of my oldest homies. And then lastly, and kind of weirdly, but I was kind of thinking about my lay on hands ability and how I'm just sitting on a daily dose of healing magic. And so I think with some downtime as well, pretty much every day, Ruger kind of wanders around the streets of Everspring and tries to expend those lay on hands wherever is appropriate, just trying to do small little helping hands to help, enrich the city and enrich myself through the process.
Excellent. As far as the healing is concerned, you spend a few days walking around trying to channel your paladin magic, the holy light put inside of you by the god of heroes himself, to salve the wounds of the injured in the city. And you soon realize that this is unfortunately a sort of ineffective technique, as in the city of Everspring, most folks, when they receive serious hurt, go to the medical institute here in the city. You are actually spotted in the streets by some of the students of the medical institute, and they snitch on you. It's about 3 days into your campaign, going around healing cuts, finding people that have just got street people cooking street foods that get burned by grease, healing them up. People getting broken thumbs in the blacksmith shop, healing that up. That Shira approaches you out of nowhere in the markets and says, "Ruger Firehide, I hear you're out here just doing black market street medicine. Is that my understanding? You're just out here just throwing out some healing, huh? Thought you'd get away with that in my town?"
Well, hello to you too, Shira. And easy with accusations. I'm just helping where I can, same as I always have.
Well, Ruger, as always, I appreciate your spirit, but you need to be working smart, and you're out here working hard. Now, if you want to heal people with all that magic you got flowing in you, why don't you come to the Institute and help some of the sick people we got in bed? That's where we keep them, the sick people, we got a burn ward. You can come just shore these people up like lickety split if you just wanted to come do that.
Well, I had considered the notion, but I also perhaps thought it wise not to tread on your territory, Shira. And besides, I'm just wandering the streets and, occasionally just helping. But sure, all told, I'd love that, Shira. I'd love to come and help where I can.
Ruger Firehide, let me tell you something right now. I've always respected you, all right? We ain't always seen eye to eye, and we've gone through some shit, you and me, okay? Shit, nobody ever should. But I've always respected that all the skills you got, all the talents, all the power you got, you always look out for the little guy. I'm just saying, I got a bunch of little guys in this hospital. If I could cure people by touching them, you think I would have spent all that time studying medicine out of old pictures and fucking talking sculptures in the Hall of Whispers? Come on now. Let's do some work.
Following your lead, ma'am.
And you are shown to the Medical Institute, this blue and white building, which is full of students trying to learn as best they can after the Glyph Purge how to tend to wounds and heal people. And you are able to put your healing to very good use, using your lay on hands ability to save some pretty critically injured people from, almost certain death. The techniques they have to heal people are fairly rudimentary. Much medical knowledge was lost after the Glyph Purge, and your ability to just magically close up the most grievous of wounds is a huge help. You relieve a lot of pain and help close a lot of wounds there in the hospital. And
well, to me, it all strikes towards Ruger kind of unintentionally slipping into an Everspring ritual, where I spend my mornings in the hospital, the spine of the day, tending to my Scrivener duties, and then my evenings in the Crooked Stool with Curves, or back in the college with the rest of my fellow protagonists.
Absolutely. It is after one of these mornings at the hospital, using your paladin powers to cure the sick, that Kurz snatches you up. Says, there he is, Scrivener Firehide. Please, come with me. It's time that you started manning your post. And this handsome half-orc in glittering silver armor grabs you around the shoulders and starts marching you off towards the elevators that lead down to the depths of Grotmire, the giant dwarven city underneath the Everspring Mountains. You take one of these giant lifts on huge counterbalanced chains, clanking downward into this enormous cylindrical bore cut into this cluster of mountains where the dwarves live, their shops, their homes, carved into the very rock, in this giant spiral ramp that goes all the way down to the darkest depths where the mines are. And close to the bottom, as you hear the roar of dwarven industry, the shuffling feet and bobbing heads of crowds of dwarves attending to their duty, and you hear the cacophony of the giant waterfall falling through the center of all of this, you get to a just massive stone door that has 4 knights of the Order of the Quill out in front of it. Captain Kurz pulls you up and says, "Now, Ruger Firehide, I show you the most secure facility in all the Isle of Meosha, watched day and night by countless guards, and the very heart of the Order of the Quill, the vault. This, Ruger Firehide, is the task that I so long ago begged you to undertake. This is our sacred mission, the storing and guarding of all the written works we can recover from this world. Knights, open the gate." The knights slam their halberds, the butts of their halberds, down on the ground in these ringing slams, and this massive stone door swings just slightly open, not 3 feet open, allowing you and Kurz in. It moves surprisingly smoothly, considering it's like 30 feet tall and 30 feet wide, just this massive stone slab, and it swings inward, and light pours out of it.
I just shake my head at the guards and think to myself that for the most secure place in all of Meosha, how easily my friend Rilla could get in here. Like some dude who just looks vaguely like Kurz is like, let me in there, and then it's like, all right, here we go.
Well, that's why they bring you on board. You're a security consultant now. You should bring that up. So this door swings open, light pours out. Just bright light just pours out of this opening into the relative gloom of the hall outside. And you're led in, and past this giant stone door, you see a brightly lit foyer. There are a couple of couches lining the walls on either side of you. There's a big stone desk against a far wall, staffed with some additional knights, and then some younger-looking men and women, humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, who are just in white robes that have just a quill stamped on the front of them. And they are rushing around with giant piles of paper and giant scrolls tucked under their arms, very carefully, lovingly transporting them through a couple of doorways on either side of this massive stone desk. And there are sconces along the walls all over this room that have just naked torches burning in them. It's incredibly bright light. There's a bunch of these torches, and you see that some of these white-robed people with these quills stamped on the front of them are moving these giant piles of scrolls and papers, like perilously close to some of these torches. And one of these people, like a small gnome, takes a torch from a wall sconce and just lays it on top of the pile of books he's carrying completely casually, and just marches in through one of these doors behind the desk. Kurz says, this is where our scribes, the people in the robes, collect and try to organize as best they can the written works that are brought here for safekeeping. Pay no mind to all the torches. This place is lit only by magical flame. They produce no heat and will catch none of these precious works of flame. It's quite the workaround, believe me. But please come. And he leads you through one of these doors behind this broad stone desk. He nods to the knights behind it who wave back. And as soon as you get past this door, you see like the biggest room you've ever seen. Think the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. You are in a gigantic warehouse. Rows and rows and rows of impossibly long stone shelves, some 50 feet high, just run all along the length of this massive, massive room. And each one of them is piled with leather-bound books, some stone tablets, piles of scrolls and cases. You see what looks like maps, some tapestries with a bunch of writing on them. Of course, all of it is unintelligible, but this room is just dominated by these enormous stone racks of all of these preserved written works. And in between all of these shelves, you see wooden tables with dozens and dozens of these scribes, these people in these white robes with the quill in the front, hunched over these tables with writing instruments, what looks like transcribing all of the just piles of books and scrolls onto these perfectly square, beautifully white sheets of paper. They all have ink stains on their fingers and hands. And Kurz says, "This is the vault, the repository, where we keep these works preserved for the day in which the glyph purge will be broken, and hopefully they can be read once more. All of these books and scrolls represent the lost knowledge of a bygone age before the glyph purge fell upon the land. Each one of these books could hold more knowledge than any man could keep in their head. You could walk around with them under your arm and pass them around, share them ad infinitum before the glyph purge fell. Here we keep them safe, and here our scribes meticulously copy down every rune and glyph in the event that the old parchment and old books are too damaged or waterlogged to be maintained. Obviously, we can't glean any meaning from these glyphs and runes, and that's why it is so important that our scribes meticulously copy them exactly as they are written. They can't make any sense of them. They have to go purely by artistic skill. It is quite the difficult duty. And this is our sacred charge, to keep this safe from all harm and any forces that would seek to destroy all this knowledge. What do you think, Firehide?
Well, Curse, I just have one simple question. How, in the name of the stricken, do you all sort this place? I mean, you can't read them. So, like, say that guy over there wants to copy that guy's writing. Like, how do you tell a guy which one you're looking for? You know?
Well, I have to tell you, it is incredibly difficult. Incredibly difficult. We can't know the importance of any work that's brought in here. We don't know if it's a recipe for chicken pot pie or a ancient grimoire full of death magic. We simply don't know what is what. As far as keeping track of it, every scribe is simply assigned whatever new works are brought in. That's why you'd see some of them are nearly buried under piles of books and scrolls, and they do their best to transcribe what they can. Every scribe is tasked with keeping their workload separate from everyone else, and sometimes, yes, there is overlap. It is unfortunate because we can't read any of them. We mostly keep them organized by size, color, and material. It's not the best system, and God help anyone who has to keep track of all of this shit once we learn how to read them again. It's going to be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That is in fact the thing of nightmares that I hope to make real by solving glyph purge. Just that.
Oh, of course. If you and your companions, your fellow protagonists, are successful, all of the knowledge trapped in all of these works will be in the hands of all mortals once more. And that is why it is so important to keep this place safe from the cult of the stricken, from the Knights of the Pyre, who would like nothing more than to ransack this place and burn every single work in here.
Mm-hmm. I am all too familiar with that particular threat, Curse. And as you well know, you already have my blade. But on that note about protecting this vault, you ever consider the fact that a shapeshifter could get in here real easy? I mean, it's been bothering me this whole time that I've been here, Curse. Like, Rilla could just stroll right on in here. Y'all need to come up with some, like, a lock-in key system or, I don't know, elaborate changing passwords or something. Because that's just way too easy, Curse.
Kerr's eyebrows rise more and more with every word that comes out of your mouth. And as you get to the end of the sentence, he's like, "By the light of Protos, what have we done?" And we are going to switch to Rilla Longshadow. Hey, Rilla, what's going on?
I'm just planning a fun heist. Why not?
Oh, God. Yeah, the damage you could do. So, Rilla, you have helped usher the elven people of the Springvale Forest into their new home, lakeside, next to Lake Dainum, just outside of town. They have built shelters and are trying their best to acclimate themselves to this new environment. You have assembled this lovely memorial to your parents and to all those who have fallen to the machinations of the elders. And yeah, you are free. You're still healing a bit from your terrible, terrible trial. You've been brought back to life, but your stats took a serious hit. In gameplay terms, your constitution is going to take some time to heal up to full. So you're a little weak and kind of just puttering around. But all of Everspring is at your disposal. What would you like to do?
I'm trying to remember what I had on my docket. I know that I need to enroll Dara in school.
Well, let's talk about that. So you would like to enroll Dara, your younger sister, into courses at the College of Everspring. Is that right?
Yeah, she is someone I don't want to leave without supervision, and I think it would be good for her to be around people who are her age in spirit, or however you want to phrase it, with some structure, like teachers, and a reason to stay in town and not follow me when I leave.
Excellent. Who do you approach to try to get her put in school?
Well, I mean, I feel like I have to approach her first. Like, what does she want to learn? You know? Because does she want to be a bard? What would appeal to her?
So Dara has been spending all of her time at Lakeside with the elven diaspora that has immigrated here from the Springvale Forest. She is in charge of, put herself in charge of security and morale, and she is overseeing everyone's adjustment to their new home. So you find her easily enough barking some orders at some elves who are assembling a new home for some new transplants. She turns around and says, "Hey, Rilla, what's going on? You got that look in your eye like you're going to tell me what to do."
I always have that look in my eye.
Yeah, you do. What's up?
You have a unique opportunity before you. We are in a city, a place you've never been before, and I am well respected as a protagonist. I can put in a good word at the university, and I'm fairly certain to get you enrolled. And I think it would be good for you to gain some skills.
You want me to go to college?
Yes.
In the city?
Uh-huh.
With all the people in the buildings?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
You've got magic. There are teachers there. They teach a different type of magic, but they can, I've sat in on some lectures, and it helped me. You can also be around other people who can cast. So it's not just you and your sister and your aunt. That can be, that can just be nice to not feel like a weirdo, And, yeah, I think it'd be really good for you if you're interested.
Look, Rilla, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I don't need grown-up supervision whenever you're not around, okay? I know I just got these magic powers, but I don't need any help from anyone trying to get them under control. And she points her finger at you and a fucking lightning bolt shoots from the point of her finger and arcs just past your head out over Lake Danu. Just a crack of thunder, your hair stands up on end.
Okay, now see that wasn't good.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, sure. Yeah. She blows smoke off the tip of her finger. Okay, so college. Yeah, let's maybe talk about that. I guess, did they have lightning classes or what's the...
Okay, so Sam, I think I might need your help here because I sat in on those lectures with that that bard who was very good at magic, but I don't know that I have the name of that teacher written down.
That is Cassandra Crestfall, who teaches illusion magic. But you know that to get your sister enrolled in college, you're probably going to want to talk to Lore Master Holland, especially because she is the Lore Master of the Arcane.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so when I went there, I was more interested in illusion magic because that's my specialty. I've got the fireballs, but
Dara goes, illusions? You want me to take like bits of shadow and weave what, lanyards out of it? No. I'm packing lightning, sis, okay?
Yeah.
I need like I need something a little more aggressive.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So I think what we need to do is go see Lore Master Holland, get you enrolled, and then figure out who are the good teachers for you to work with. Because we're both sorcerers, but we're clearly not the same type. So,
As long as I can learn to stop setting my bedroll on fire, I think that's probably a good idea, if I'm being honest. So you two head up to the college, and you ask around for Lore Master Holland, and she has just finished up giving a lecture. One of the many classrooms in the sprawling college of Everspring, the most massive structure here in the town. And as students file out every shape and size, young, precocious faces, you enter this large lecture hall with stadium seating, plenty of desks and chairs, and Lore Master Holland stands behind a small podium in the front of the classroom and says,
Rilla, and I believe Dara? Forgive me, we only met in passing. What can I do for you girls today?
I'm glad you've at least met in passing. I wasn't sure how introductions were handled while I was dead. Dara here, like myself, is a sorcerer.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, it seems to run in the family. And as there are so few of us, like me when I came here, she is in need of some help from a teacher or teachers. So we're looking to get her enrolled and potentially set up with a destruction professor, someone who specializes in that. Or what are you thinking? Evocation? What types you want to go for, Dara?
Dara looks at you and says, well, I think that I'm pretty proficient in blowing shit up. So that's kind of what I want to learn to stop doing when I don't
We need
want
help
to
with
do it.
control. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Holland looks Dara up and down and says,
A truly rich bloodline. Fascinating. Well, Rilla, this college owes you much, and it would be my absolute pleasure to help guide a young spellcaster on the path to mastering their arcane abilities. I would gladly take this responsibility myself. I have some time between my classes and my efforts on the Council of Lore Masters, but I wonder if you wouldn't be willing to help the college yourself. You, Rilla Longshadow, are quite the skilled sorceress. I have seen firsthand your powers grow as you have been proclaimed a protagonist and gone out into the field to help end the glyph purge. I know that your work is pressing and dangerous and it takes you far afield, but in your time here in the city, I would ask that you share the knowledge of your mastery of transmutation with any students that show the proclivity. I don't know of anyone else who is more proficient at changing their form than you are. I will gladly take your sister under my wing and ensure that she receives a well-rounded education, if you will do this boon for us.
Well, I don't know how great I'll be at teaching, since this is just kind of, it's always been pretty natural for me. It's not like I had to study much, but yeah, I'll offer whatever help I can. Make sure this one gets in some classes too. I want her to make friends her own age. She can't just be hero worshipped by every elf.
Rilla, I'm standing right here, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk to, but yeah, I would like some friends, honestly. Everyone's so old. Holland says,
Excellent. I shall make the preparations immediately. Your first class will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Please, be punctual.
So early. I say as if I sleep, but come on. Like, fine.
And Dara, I shall have a prospectus for you at about the same time. Return tomorrow, both of you, and we'll get you both fully integrated into the college here. And Holland nods and dismisses you both. You head out of the lecture hall and back into the hallway. And Dara says, "Well, Rilla, I have to say, I appreciate you pulling strings. You know, Mom and Dad never would have dreamed in a million years that you and I would be a couple of college girls." But listen, if I'm going to be stuck here, out of danger, out of the threat of monsters and dungeons and maybe an occasional dragon, then there's something that I don't have a use for right now. And considering how far you travel and all the danger you get yourself into, I think this would be far better placed in your hands. And Dara takes from her back the bow that has been sitting in a bow case since you first saw her again in the Springvale Forest. You noticed this pretty early on when you were trying to reconnect with her in disguise. This is this beautiful bow, black inlaid with bone, with beautiful script that you assume is Elven, though of course you can't make any sense out of it. And she holds it in her hands and presents it to this gorgeous, incredibly well-crafted longbow and says, I think you might get more use out of this than I will.
Do I recognize it at all? I can't remember.
You have never seen this before, like before you saw it in your last adventure in the forest. This is not like a family artifact or anything.
Okay.
You've never seen this thing.
So I take it from her and I start like inspecting it.
The second you take it out of Dara's hands, you can feel the magic crackling inside of it. This thing is enchanted with some pretty potent magic. She says, "Now, I don't want to freak you out or anything, but technically this was a gift from Elder Willow. But hold on. I had Aunt Arifin look at it. And this is a pretty powerful piece of elven magic. This is an oath bow. Our ancestors made several of these to take out the sworn enemies of elven kind before we wove the veil over the forest. It's got much more kick than anything these humans or dwarves put together, and Arifin told me that if you're sighting a target and you proclaim them as your enemy, it'll fuck them up even worse."
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that. Listen, just hold on to that, use it on your adventures, and make sure that you bring it back to me. No more dying out there, okay? You gotta give me my fucking bow back. You hear me?
I hear you. I mean, I only did it once, so that's not too bad.
Well, let's not do it again, okay? Just don't do it again.
Okay.
And she hugs you. Yeah, we'll swap. We only got a little time left in this episode.
I do have a thing I would like to try and do. I don't think it should take very long.
That's cool. Hektor, you're back up in the rotation anyway. So we swap back to Hektor the Gatekeeper, Keeper of the Gates. You've had a lovely conversation with Moonbeam, and you've been tasked with chores, yawn. Yeah, what would you like to do? You have the city of Everspring at your disposal.
So I was looking through my notes, and I guess I did not write these characters' names down. There were a couple of people that we met in the Ashen Isles.
Mm-hmm.
Was the little guy a goblin or a gnome? He's a goblin, right?
Indeed. Indeed.
Okay. And then an ogre number 2. Yes? Or was she a half giant?
Mrs. Fisher
Mrs. Fisher.
and Pretty Polly.
Yeah,
Pretty Polly
yeah.
and Mrs. Fisher. There we go.
Yeah, the two people you met in the Ashen Isles were the College of Everspring's contact, the goblin pirate captain, Pretty Polly, and his first mate, the towering ogress, Mrs. Fisher.
So the teleportation thing, like where they went in the Ashen Isles was close to like their stash spot, right?
Yes, the shattered shoals, the accumulation of broken vessels from hundreds of years of smashing against the rocks where the pirates of the Ashen Isles had made their home, is very, very close to the standing stone that teleported you there a few adventures ago. Why do you ask?
I would like to go there.
Sure. Yeah, as a protagonist, you have only to flash your badge at the guards now posted in the Council of Lore Masters council hall. The tapestry standing over that standing stone has been removed, and that gate is now guarded by Knights of the Order of the Quill. It seems that the Lore Masters have stepped up security since y'all have started using those teleportation gates far more often. But yeah, in short order, you are able to step through the gate and the offices of the Lore Masters Council Room. You go to the Circle of Standing Stones high on a towering peak looking down upon Everspring proper, and yeah, you're able to access the one that heads to the Ashen Islands. You are shown a familiar vista, roaring foamy waves smashing against sharp, jagged volcanic rock islands, towering mountain in the distance on the main island, Garu, where Zurabak's not sister rules, and before you, butting up against this island where the gate leads out, is the Shattered Shoal, this massive accumulation of busted up ships.
Hector just takes just a moment to look around and reflect on the adventure that they had here and the terrible destruction that we witnessed and helped cause in some cases.
As you take a look around to sort of get the feel of the place, that giant mountain on the Isle of Garu that you all exploded, half of its peak has been completely shorn off, and there is now this oblong smoking crater where the peak was, and there is no longer any active lava flow that you can see, but there's a giant mound of like dried of cooled stone bunched up around the base of this mountain, and you see like giant birds whirling around the island that seem to have, some of which seem to have riders on them. There's a smoking crater where that mountaintop used to be. But where are you headed?
Shattered Shoals.
Okay, yeah. You head down the entrance that Pretty Polly popped out of previously, the last time you were here. It's very close, and you hop right down, and you are inside this long, snaking tunnel, surrounded on all sides by these shattered, splintered remains of old ships. There are far fewer people here than there were last time. The pirates are no longer in exile. It seems they've all gone back to the Isle of Garu to rebuild. But there are a few scragglers here. One short kobold with a scar on his snout looks up and he says, "You're the big man from before. What do you want, big man?"
Is Polly around?
"Polly's in his office, big man."
So should I go there, or are you gonna go tell him I'm here, or?
I'm busy, big man. And he just scuttles off down the hallway. You remember the direction of Polly's office. It's all one long hall. So eventually you get there. You traipse through the remnants of old bunks and camps that are now emptied of all the pirates that once called this place home. And eventually, you get to this large sliding cargo door that opens up into the office of Polly, and you can hear his pirate drawl as you make your way down, which gets louder as you approach. And you hear the clink of coins, and he says, 1, 2, 3. As you turn the corner, he is counting a pile of gold coins. Leaning back in a chair, this diminutive goblin with a tricorn hat scrunched down over his floppy goblin ears, a giant ruby earring in one ear. His tiny boots are up on his desk, and he's just counting gold out of a leather pouch, and just a pile of gold on the floor next to him. And Mrs. Fisher is looming in the corner, this massive ogress with an outfit made out of torn black sails, a skull and crossbones emblazoned over her chest. He says, "Big man, come back, friend!" And she just rushes over and envelops you in a rib-breaking bear hug.
Hector does his best to hug back as hard as he can. I don't think he's quite there, though.
Yeah, you hug back, but are just crushed by the size of this large woman. She eventually drops you breathlessly, and Polly says, "Yarg, Hector, it's good to see you back, lad. I didn't think you'd come back. It's all hellfire and fangs around here. What can pretty Polly do for you?"
Well, Polly, I have recently accepted a job offer in the Hall of Whispers at the college.
Is Moonbeam still collecting garbage from all across Meosha?
Indeed, and that is exactly what brings me here. As I recall when last we met, you in fact had a pile of garbage which included some interesting artifacts and paintings and such.
He looks at you, he gives you a side eye and says, "Yarg, that I do." And he pulls like a ragged, torn sail off of the wall, and behind it is a cabinet just full of little knickknacks and curios. "I've been picking my way around these ruined wrecks for quite a while, lad. I've collected all manner of things. What are you looking for? What are you buying?"
Somebody's got just a long coat and he flashes Hector.
Sorry. I cracked myself up on that one. "What are you looking for, lad?"
To be honest, I'm not looking for anything specific. I just wanted to see what you had and see if we could work out maybe a deal so that some of this stuff can end up where I think it might belong, which is a museum.
Well, I suppose there's no harm in that. As far as curios and knickknacks, I could part with a few. If I might ask before I impart you with some of my collection, have you heard from Duke Zurabak? Do you know if he's going to return and, take his role as Duke of the Isle of Neho? Because, Queen Letitia, she basically made me and Mrs. Fisher sort of his employees. I'm to be the castellan of his castle, but he's never gone there. You wouldn't know if he's planning on coming back, do you?
Zurabak is, he's Zurabak.
Just go ahead and say no.
I would, if I were a betting man, and I am, I would say probably not. However, I maybe could help you figure out some ways to entice him to stop by from time to time, um, in exchange for helping me to procure some of these artifacts.
Well, of course, lad. That sounds like a fine trade to me. If you could figure any way to get the Duke to come, visit his dukedom at any point, I'd surely appreciate it. If you promise me you'll try, I can part with something here. Let me see. He starts rifling through all the shit in this cabinet behind him, throwing out just random stuff. Skull, rusty old cutlass, and he pulls something. There's this moth-eaten, waterlogged tricorn hat sitting on one of these shelves, and he flaps it down on his desk and says, "Yarg, this be the thing. I'm sure this is a winner." And this hat looks like shit. There's holes in it. There's obvious water damage. It still looks a little wet for some fucking reason. But what stands out more than anything is the feather. There is a beautiful crimson feather sticking out of the band of this tricorn hat. It is spotless. It looks almost like it's made of some sort of metal. And it's got this beautiful crimson hue that like shines in the lantern light here in Polly's office, and says, "I took this hat from the corpse of a captain of one of these here vessels. Obviously, I couldn't tell what the name of it was or who the captain may have been, but this feather, well, it stood out. Everything else in his cabin was destroyed, but this feather was pristine. I don't know if it's got any magic in it, but go ahead, lad, touch it."
I cast Detect Magic.
Oh, it's magic as hell. There is a strong magical aura about this feather.
Cool. Let's skip on ahead to Identify then.
You cast Identify, and this is not a feather, but a weapon. A magically enchanted weapon. This is a throwing dart. It has the Seeking enchantment, the Returning enchantment. It is +5, and its enhancement bonus. And you can tell this thing is a majorly powerful magical item and weapon. Whoever it belonged to definitely had it crafted with care. And as you touch it to cast this Identify spell on it, the sound of rushing waves, like waves crashing against a shore, fills your ears from the moment you touch it. You think you can almost hear the call of gulls as you're holding it in your hands.
I rolled a 19 on the dice on my Bardic Knowledge check, which is a total of 31 after my feat gave me extra points in Bardic Knowledge.
As you put together all the evidence before you, the location of where this was found, the nature of its condition, the magical spells placed upon it, and the unique trait of the sound of rushing water in your ears, this is the fabled Sea Strider feather. This dart was in the cap of one of the most legendary sailors ever to operate out of the Ashen Isles, a privateer named Captain Leopold Augustus Sea Strider. He and his fabled ship, the Not Again, traveled the Ashen Isles trying to fight off pirates. He was famously killed when his ship sank and was taken by an overwhelming force of pirates. 5 ships dogged him, and he took out 2 of them before his ship fell. And this is his signature weapon, a magical dart that he would throw with expert accuracy, sometimes killing captains from the deck of his own ship by hurling it at them across the choppy waters.
Wow. Yeah, Polly, this'll do.
Is that a good one, then?
It is.
Right. Okay, well, simple enough, then. There you have your plunder. Now, just try to stick to your end of the bargain and make sure the Duke returns to his dukedom, if he can.
So here's my advice to you, and I will talk to Zurabak, but he doesn't exactly listen to me.
Right.
Here's my advice. Food. He really likes food. Exotic food. Food that would be toxic to a normal, living creature. He seems to enjoy the taste of poison, from what I've seen.
Ooh, poison.
Meat. Poison and meat. A poisoned meat. And a lot of it. Now that would be something that would entice him. Also, I've noticed that he likes to subjugate exotic creatures. So if you have a population of an interesting type of creature for him to become, he's the king of shocker lizards and champion of the goats. He collects these kinds of titles. So if he has some sort of, people aren't going to cut it for him.
Right.
But if there is some sort of population of interesting creature around for him to lord a new title over, that would also be something that could very well entice him. So these are things that you guys would be able to do to entice him to come occasionally take his seat. I will talk to him. It will be easier for me to convince him if, like I said, if there's lots of meat or a creature, a new type of creature to subjugate.
I'll have to think on that, lad. You've given me a lot to work with, and I appreciate that. Mrs. Fisher, didn't we see a massive stingray the other day? Fisher hates stingray! Yeah, that's what I thought. We'll work on it. Well, in any case, you've got your token, lad. May the seas bear you safely to wherever your compass points.
May your boulder roll uphill.
Yes, the traditional gatekeeper greeting.
And then we cut to Moonbeam's office, where Hektor walks in and sets down the hat and says, "The fucking feather of Leopold Augustus Seastrider."
What? And that's where we'll end. Hello and welcome to As the Dice Turns, the podcast after the podcast, where we take a deep dive into our player characters' frustrations, motivations, characterizations, and try to get a better understanding of them as people. In this part of our show, we ask one of our protagonists a question about their ongoing quest to end the Glyph Purge, and try to get a better understanding of them as a person. As we made clear last time, I no longer trust all four of our protagonists to be in my studio all at once, because it always ends in some zany misadventure with gangs of warring skaters or Roomba tribunals. So today we just have Hektor the Gatekeeper, Keeper of the Gates, here in the studio. Hektor, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, host?
I'm just fine. I'm loving the new format. It's nice to just be able to host you here in the studio. And not have all the other people sort of breathing down my neck or assembling skate parks or building robot armies. It's nice. It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I have discovered through this this journey here in As the Dice Turns that I am very susceptible to groupthink. I get caught up in the shenanigans a lot, and I am sorry.
Well, I think that's one, very fair, and two, very self-reflective. And I appreciate that level of insight on your part, Hektor. I really do. I think we're making some real progress here. The question I have for you today, Hektor, is about the Hall of Whispers. Now, this institution installed within the College of Everspring is a living museum. It is a reliquary of ancient artifacts and items that have been bespelled to speak their own history. And you have thoroughly stepped up your devotion to this institution. I'm curious how much of that is your connection to Moonbeam, or how much of that is just your... How much do you believe in the Hall of Whispers in general? And do you plan on making more... Do you plan on taking a more active role in running it? I know you have other responsibilities as far as eventually becoming the chief of the Gatekeeper clan. Do you think eventually those responsibilities are going to clash? How do you see your relationship with the Hall of Whispers moving forward, I guess is the question.
Well, first of all, let me say, I love Moonbeam. Moonbeam is great. Moonbeam is also not why I became interested in the Hall of Whispers. As we've mentioned many times, I've always loved stories, and there is no better collection in the world of stories than the Hall of Whispers. The first time I was there, it completely took my breath away. So that's why I wanted to become involved. And again, Moonbeam has been an amazing mentor and a tremendous help there. But I am there because of the Hall of Whispers. I forged a connection with Moonbeam because of my interest in the Hall of Whispers, as opposed to the other way around.
Sure. And I suppose for a story junkie like you, the tales per square inch in the Hall of Whispers is intoxicating.
I think it's probably a world record. As far as, like you said, tales per square inch. As far as moving forward, I want to, now that I am officially offered a position within the Hall of Whispers, I plan to take that very seriously. I want to do my best to fill the hall up with as many stories as I can before other responsibilities pull me away.
It seems like your continued growth as a bard, your gathering of more bardic abilities, has been almost custom fit to this role as someone that contributes to the Hall of Whispers. I mean, you have the Identify spell, you've learned Magic Mouth, things which are integral to adding new exhibits to the Hall. It seems like it's been sort of a guiding light in your advancement in the bardic arts.
Absolutely. I never expected to cast spells. If you would have said even like 6 months ago, hey, Hektor, you're going to be a spellcaster, like, I just would have laughed, thought that was a bad joke. But yeah, I only know spells because Moonbeam took me under her wing because of my interest in the hall. So certainly I have honed what spells I have chosen to learn towards that very thing. Yes, Magic Mouth, Identify, Locate Object. Most of the spells I have taken to assist me.
Well, it is certainly a noble pursuit, and one that means a lot in a world without writing. In a lot of ways, this is the only practical manner in which tales of the old world can be shared, and this knowledge can be, brought to life for people to enjoy.
And I think, ultimately, our end goal is to stop the glyph purge and bring the written word back. But
I was
I
just
think
going to
that
ask about that.
even in a world where the written word is back, a museum where all the artifacts tell you their story still holds up. I don't think it will become obsolete. Knowledge will be able to be, it will become less vital to the continued, storage of this knowledge, but it will still be the best museum there is.
Well, I think that is very well said, and an excellent insight into, the importance of this institution. I'm sure Moonbeam certainly appreciates your help, and it has been fascinating to watch you acclimate yourself and really sharpen your skills towards the task of adding exhibits and uncovering the secrets of the old world. And boy, I just can't wait to see what other wonders you bring back to showcase in the hall. I think that'll be a very interesting journey for you.
And neither can I. Wait to see
Right.
what
I'm sorry.
I bring back
Gotcha. Great. Okay. Well,
to the Hall of Whispers
absolutely. Right. Well, Hector, that's going to do it for us.
in my future journeys.
Uh-huh. Okay. Was that it? Or was... Okay, well, that's going to do it for us. Well, that's going to do it for us here on As the Dice Turns, the podcast after the podcast. We want to thank Hector, the gatekeeper, keeper of the gates, for his time. And Sharon and I want to thank you all for listening to our little show here. Until next time, keep those dice turning. Hey there, dear listener. Sam the DM here, checking in with the credits at the end of the show. Challenge Rating 0 was edited by the incomparable Audius Prime, a.k.a. Matt Sims. You can find more of his work at audiusprime.com. Music for Challenge Rating 0, including our amazing theme song, is provided by the harp wolf Danielle Williams. You can find more of her work at danielletaylorharp.bandcamp.com, including her album Why Are We Surprised When Seasons Change. Additional music for Challenge Rating 0 is provided by Justin Ra. You can find more of his work at justinra.com, including his album Age of the Spirit. If you want to find us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Challenge Rating 0. We're at Twitter at Challenge_0. And if you'd like to email us here at the show and send in any questions for As the Dice Turn segment, you can send any emails to challengeratingzero@gmail.com. Any questions we receive will be read on air. If you'd like to support the show, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/CR_ZERO. We've got some bonus content on there for you folks if you are interested. And if you can't support us fungibly, we ask only that maybe you take some time to give us a review, recommend us to a friend, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for listening. We're still trying to make the best show we can for you folks. We're going to keep on keeping on. I hope you all take care of yourselves and each other out there. We'll see you next time.